I love you, you idiot. The conference room fell silent. 20 pairs of eyes darted between Mia Donovan, our normally composed marketing director, and me, Darius Mitchell, a black single dad and oblivious workaholic who had somehow missed every sign that my boss had feelings for me. 3 years earlier, I was drowning. Not literally, but in every other sense of the word. "Daddy, we're going to be late again," my 7-year-old daughter Amara said, watching me frantically search for my car keys while simultaneously trying to button my shirt and gulp down lukewarm coffee. "I know, sweetie, I know." The keys weren't in the bowl by the door where they belonged. They weren't in my jacket pocket. They weren't in the refrigerator. Yes, I checked there too. Sleep deprivation does strange things to a person. Amara sighed with the infinite patience of a child who had grown accustomed to chaos. "They're in your hand, Daddy." I looked down. There they were, clutched in my dark brown grip the entire time. Right. Of course they are. This was my life since Evelyn died. A constant state of barely keeping it together, of forgetting simple things, of apologizing to my daughter for being late, for burning dinner, for not remembering to sign permission slips. Evelyn had been gone for 2 years. Brain aneurysm, no warning. 1 minute we were planning a weekend trip to the beach. The next, I was a widower with a 5-year-old daughter who kept asking when mommy was coming home. I dropped Amara off at school with a kiss on her forehead and a promise to be on time for pickup. It was a promise I had broken too many times already. When I arrived at Pinnacle Marketing Solutions, I was 20 minutes late for my interview. The receptionist gave me a sympathetic look as I rushed in, sweat beading on my forehead. "Mr. Mitchell, Miss Donovan is waiting for you in conference room B." I nodded, trying to catch my breath. This job was everything. A fresh start, better pay, and most importantly, regular hours that would let me be there for Amara. My previous position at a high-pressure advertising firm had demanded 60-hour weeks and constant travel. I couldn't do that to Amara anymore. When I opened the door to conference room B, I expected irritation. What I got was understanding. Mia Donovan looked up from her tablet. Her dark hair pulled back in a neat bun, glasses perched on her nose. She wasn't what I expected. In my head, marketing directors were slick, aggressive types with power suits and predatory smiles. Mia wore a simple navy blazer over a white blouse, and when she smiled, it reached her eyes. "Mr. Mitchell, please have a seat." "I'm so sorry I'm late. My daughter," she held up a hand. "No need to explain. I saw on your resume that you're a single parent." I imagine mornings can be challenging. I blinked, surprised by her perception. "They are, yes." "Well, let's get started then. Tell me why you want to leave the prestigious world of Madison Avenue for our humble operation here in Connecticut." For the next hour, we talked about marketing strategies, client relationships, and creative approaches. But we also talked about work-life balance, about the importance of being present, about how corporate culture could either support or undermine family life. By the end of the interview, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. "Mr. Mitchell, Darius," Mia said as we wrapped up, "I think you'd be an excellent fit for our team. The position is yours if you want it," just like that. I couldn't hide my surprise. She smiled again, that genuine smile that made her eyes crinkle at the corners, just like that. "We need someone with your experience and, frankly, your perspective. Too many marketing professionals are so focused on the next big campaign that they forget what matters. You haven't forgotten." I started the following Monday. The first 6 months at Pinnacle were a revelation. For the first time since Evelyn died, I felt like I could breathe. I was home for dinner with Amara every night. I could attend her school events. I could be the father she deserved. And then there was Mia. As my boss, she was everything I could have hoped for. Supportive, challenging, insightful. She pushed me to do my best work, but never at the expense of my time with Amara. If I needed to leave early for a school concert or stay home with a sick child, she didn't just allow it. She encouraged it. "Family first, Darius," she'd say. "The work will still be here tomorrow." What I didn't realize, what I was too wrapped up in my own grief and adjustment to see, was that Mia was slowly becoming more than just my boss. The signs were there looking back. The way she'd bring me coffee in the morning, remembering exactly how I took it. The way she'd linger in my office doorway, finding reasons to extend our conversations beyond work topics. The way she'd ask about Amara, genuinely interested in my daughter's life and achievements. Amara made the honor roll again, I mentioned casually one day, as Mia and I reviewed a client proposal. That's wonderful. Her face lit up with pride that seemed disproportionate to a boss's interest in an employee's child. She's so bright, Darius. You must be incredibly proud. I am, I said, smiling at the thought of my daughter, though I can't take much credit. She's got her mother's brains. A shadow crossed Mia's face so quickly I almost missed it. You don't give yourself enough credit, she said softly. Amara is lucky to have you. Then there were the team lunches where Mia always seemed to end up sitting next to me. The company events where she'd gravitate to my side. The text messages on weekends ostensibly about work, but often veering into personal territory. Have you and Amara tried that new ice cream place downtown? She texted one Saturday. I hear their chocolate chip cookie dough is life-changing. We went that afternoon. Amara declared it the best ice cream she'd ever had. I texted Mia a picture of Amara's chocolate-smeared smile. She responded with a heart emoji, and still, I didn't see it. A year into my time at Pinnacle, Mia invited the whole team to her house for a summer barbecue. It was a beautiful day, the kind that seems to stretch endlessly with possibility. Her backyard was spacious with a pool that the younger employees immediately gravitated toward. Amara, now 8, was in heaven. Mia had thought of everything. Pool toys, games for the kids, even a special non-alcoholic mocktail station where Amara could mix her own fancy drinks. This is amazing, I told Mia as we stood by the grill watching Amara concoct some fluorescent blue beverage. You didn't have to go to all this trouble. It's no trouble, she said, flipping a burger with expert precision. I love entertaining, and besides, it's nice to see everyone outside the office, especially Amara. She glanced at me, a hint of something in her eyes that I couldn't quite place. She looks like you know. Same smile. Poor kid, I joked. Mia didn't laugh. No, she said seriously. It's a good smile, the kind that makes people feel safe. Before I could respond, one of our co-workers called Mia over to settle a dispute about the proper way to play cornhole, and the moment passed. Later, as the evening cooled and most of the guests had left, Amara fell asleep on a lounge chair wrapped in a towel. I sat beside Mia on her patio, nursing a beer and feeling more relaxed than I had in years. Thank you for today, I said. Amara had a blast. I'm glad. Mia tucked her legs underneath her, looking younger and more vulnerable than she did at the office. Can I ask you something personal, Darius? Of course. Do you ever think about dating again? The question caught me off guard. I stared into my beer bottle, watching the amber liquid catch the light from the tiki torches. I don't know, I answered honestly. Sometimes I think I should for Amara's sake. She deserves a complete family. And for your sake? Mia pressed gently. I sighed. I loved Evelyn so much. The thought of trying to find that again, it seems impossible and exhausting. Between work and Amara, I don't even know when I'd find the time to date. Mia was quiet for a moment. Sometimes the right person is already in your life, she said finally. You just have to be open to seeing them. I nodded, thinking she was offering general wisdom about being open to possibilities. You're probably right. I should try to be more aware. She smiled, but it didn't quite reach her eyes. Yes, awareness would be good. As I carried a sleeping Amara to my car that night, Mia stood in her doorway, illuminated by the soft porch light. She raised her hand in a wave, and I had the strangest feeling that I was missing something important. But I drove away, oblivious as ever. The hints continued, growing more obvious to everyone except me. There was the Christmas party where Mia wore a stunning red dress and spent most of the evening by my side, laughing at my terrible jokes and touching my arm when she spoke. There was the time she brought soup to my house when Amara and I both had the flu, spending her Saturday cleaning our kitchen and making sure we had everything we needed. There was the Valentine's Day when a beautiful arrangement of flowers appeared on my desk with no card. When I mentioned it in the break room, wondering aloud who could have sent them, Mia nearly choked on her coffee. Maybe you have a secret admirer, suggested Tom from accounting. More likely a delivery mistake, I said, completely missing the way Mia's face fell. Then came the day of the Hendricks pitch. It was a massive potential client, one that could transform our agency's profile. We'd been working on the presentation for weeks, and the pressure was intense. The night before the pitch, I was still at the office at 9 p.m., frantically revising slides and second-guessing every word of the presentation. Amara was staying with my parents, so I had no reason to go home to an empty house. I didn't hear Mia enter my office until she placed a container of food on my desk. "You need to eat," she said simply. I looked up, bleary-eyed. "What are you still doing here?" "I could ask you the same thing." She pulled up a chair beside me. "The presentation is solid, Darius. You need rest more than you need another revision." "I just want it to be perfect," I said, rubbing my eyes. "It won't be perfect. Nothing ever is." She opened the container, revealing homemade pasta that smelled divine. "But it will be excellent, and that's enough." We ate together in my office, the only two people left in the building. Mia told me stories about her worst pitches, about clients from hell, about presentations that had gone spectacularly wrong, but somehow resulted in signed contracts. "Remember the Westfield disaster?" she laughed. "When the projector died mid-presentation and you had to act out the entire marketing campaign?" I groaned at the memory. I still can't believe I did interpretive dance to convey their brand values. "It was brilliant," Mia said, her eyes warm with admiration. "You're brilliant, Darius. You don't need to kill yourself over this pitch." Something in her tone made me look at her. Really look at her, for perhaps the first time. The soft light from my desk lamp caught the gold flecks in her brown eyes. Her dark hair was coming loose from its usual neat style, a few strands framing her face. She looked tired but beautiful, and suddenly I was aware of how close we were sitting, how intimate this moment felt. For a second, I thought she might lean forward. For a second, I thought I might want her to. Then my phone buzzed with a text from my mother about Amara, breaking the spell. "I should go," Mia said, standing abruptly. "Early day tomorrow. Get some rest, Darius." She was gone before I could thank her for dinner, for the company, for caring. The next day we nailed the pitch. The Hendricks team signed on the spot. The office erupted in celebration, champagne flowing freely as we toasted our success. In the midst of the chaos, Mia found me. "Congratulations," she said, handing me a glass. "You were amazing in there." "We were amazing," I corrected. "I couldn't have done it without you." Something shifted in her expression, a determination I hadn't seen before. "Darius, I was wondering if maybe you'd like to." "Dad!" Amara's voice cut through the noise as she barreled into the office, my mother trailing behind her apologetically. "She insisted on coming to congratulate you," my mother explained. I couldn't say no. I scooped Amara up, my heart full. "Best surprise ever, kiddo." When I turned back to continue my conversation with Mia, she was gone. 2 years into my time at Pinnacle, I was thriving professionally. Our client list had doubled. My team respected me. I had finally found the balance between work and fatherhood that had seemed so elusive after Evelyn's death. But personally, I was still stuck, still wearing my wedding ring, still sleeping on my side of the bed in a house full of Evelyn's things that I couldn't bear to move. Amara, now 9, was starting to ask questions. "Daddy," she said one night as I tucked her in, "why don't you have a girlfriend?" I sat on the edge of her bed, smoothing her curls back from her forehead. "That's a complicated question, sweetie. Is it because of Mom?" Her directness took my breath away. "Partly," I admitted. "I loved your mom very much." "I know," Amara said, "but Mom's gone and she's not coming back." She said it matter-of-factly with the brutal honesty of children, and I think she'd want you to be happy. I swallowed hard. "What makes you think I'm not happy?" Amara gave me a look that was so reminiscent of Evelyn that it hurt. "You smile, but sometimes your eyes look sad. Except when we're with Miss Mia, then you smile with your whole face." I blinked, surprised. "Miss Mia, my boss?" Amara nodded sagely. "She likes you. You know, like likes you. I laughed partly from discomfort and partly from the absurdity of getting relationship advice from a 9-year-old. "That's silly. Miss Mia is my boss. We're just friends." "Mom was your friend first," Amara pointed out. "That's what you always tell me. that you and Mom were best friends before you fell in love. I had no response to that. Amara yawned, apparently satisfied that she'd given me something to think about. Good night, Daddy. Think about it. I did think about it all night, in fact. Was it possible? Had Mia been sending signals that I'd been too wrapped up in grief and single parenthood to notice? I thought about all our interactions over the past 2 years, seeing them in a new light. The coffee she brought me every morning, the way she remembered details about Amara that even my own parents sometimes forgot. The lingering glances, the touches that lasted just a beat too long. The way she always seemed to find reasons for us to work late together. And I thought about how I felt around her, lighter somehow, more like myself, more like the person I was before grief rewrote my identity. The next morning, I arrived at the office with a new awareness, determined to pay attention to see if Amara's childish observation had any merit. Mia was already there, as always. She looked up when I entered, her face brightening. Morning, Darius. I got you coffee. She held out a cup, cream, no sugar, just how I liked it. Thank you, I said, taking it from her. Our fingers brushed, and I felt a jolt of something I hadn't felt in a very long time. Mia, I was wondering if... Staff meeting in 5, she interrupted, already turning away. Don't forget your quarterly reports. And just like that, the moment was gone. I stood there, coffee in hand, wondering if I'd imagined the whole thing. The annual company retreat was approaching, a weekend at a lakeside resort that was meant to build team spirit and strategic planning for the coming year. Normally, I'd find a reason to skip at least part of it, not wanting to leave Amara for the full 3 days. But this year, my parents had planned a special grandparent weekend with her, and Amara was actually excited for me to go. You should take your nice clothes, she advised as I packed. The ones that make you look handsome. I raised an eyebrow. Since when do you care about how I dress for work events? Amara rolled her eyes with a dramatic flair only a 9-year-old could muster. Dad, Miss Mia will be there. I felt my face warm. Amara, we've talked about this. Miss Mia is my boss. Whatever you say, she sang, skipping out of my room. Despite myself, I packed my best sweater and the dress shirt Evelyn had always said brought out my eyes. The resort was beautiful. Rustic cabins surrounding a gleaming lake with mountains rising in the distance. As the marketing director, Mia had organized everything from the team building activities to the room assignments. You're in cabin 7, she told me when I arrived, handing me a key. It's one of the private ones a bit farther from the main lodge. I thought you might appreciate the quiet. Thank you, I said, noticing how the sunlight caught in her hair. She'd worn it down for the trip, and it softened her usual professional appearance. That was thoughtful. She smiled, and I felt that strange flutter again. The welcome dinner is at 6 o'clock. Don't be late. I wasn't late. In fact, I was early. Having spent too much time debating which sweater to wear, I went with the blue one. Mia was already there, directing the catering staff and checking place cards. She wore a simple dress that moved with her as she walked, and I found myself watching her more than I should have. When she spotted me, she came over, a glass of wine in each hand. You clean up nice, Mitchell, she said, handing me one of the glasses. So do you, I replied, then immediately felt awkward. I mean, not that you need to clean up. You always look nice, professional, appropriate. Mia laughed, a genuine sound that made several heads turn. Appropriate. Be still my heart. I felt myself blushing like a teenager. What was wrong with me? The dinner was pleasant with good food and better company. Mia had seated me next to her, and as the wine flowed, our conversation moved easily from work to books to travel to childhood memories. I found myself telling her stories about Evelyn that I hadn't shared with anyone, about how we met in college, about our early struggles, about the joy of Amara's birth. She sounds wonderful, Mia said softly. You were lucky to have that kind of love. I was, I agreed, surprised to find that talking about Evelyn didn't hurt the way it used to. What about you? Have you ever been married? Mia shook her head. No, almost once, but it wasn't right. She took a sip of wine, her eyes never leaving mine. I've always believed that when it's right, and when it's not, no amount of wishing can make it so. There was something in her gaze that made my heart beat faster. Before I could respond, our CFO stood up to make a toast, and the moment slipped away. After dinner, most of the team headed to the lodge's bar for more drinks. Mia and I found ourselves walking back toward the cabins together, the night air cool and fragrant with pine. "Not in the mood for karaoke?" she asked, nodding toward the sounds of off-key singing drifting from the bar. "Not particularly," I admitted. "You? I've heard Tom from accounting sing Sweet Caroline enough times to last a lifetime," she laughed. "Besides, I thought I might take a walk by the lake. Care to join me?" We walked in comfortable silence, following a path that wound through the trees to the lake shore. The moon was nearly full, casting a silver path across the water. It was the kind of night that felt magical, removed from ordinary life. "How's Amara doing?" Mia asked as we found a bench overlooking the water. "She's good. Growing up too fast?" I smiled, thinking of my daughter. She's got strong opinions about everything these days, including my personal life. "Oh?" Mia turned toward me, her face half in shadow. "What kind of opinions?" I hesitated, suddenly aware that we were alone, that we were sitting very close, that the moonlight was making Mia look impossibly beautiful. "She thinks I should start dating again," I said finally. "Smart girl," Mia said softly. "What do you think?" I looked out at the lake, gathering my courage. I think I've been hiding behind grief for too long, using it as an excuse to avoid taking risks. "Risks like what?" I turned to face her. "Like telling someone how I feel about them, someone I shouldn't have feelings for, but do." Mia's breath caught. "Darius, I'm not good at this," I interrupted. "I've been out of practice for a long time, but I hope that maybe you feel something too. And if you don't, that's okay. We can pretend this conversation never happened and go back to..." She kissed me, just leaned forward and pressed her lips to mine, silencing my nervous rambling. Her hand came up to cup my face, and I felt something inside me break open. A door I'd kept locked for years. When we pulled apart, her eyes were shining. "I've been waiting 2 years for you to notice me, Darius Mitchell." "I'm an idiot," I whispered, touching her cheek. "Yes," she agreed, smiling. "But you're my idiot now." We stayed by the lake for hours, talking and kissing and laughing like teenagers. Mia told me how she'd fallen for me gradually, how she tried to respect my grief while also letting me know she was interested, how the entire office had a betting pool on when I'd finally catch on. "Everyone knew?" I asked, mortified. "Everyone except you," she confirmed. "Even Amara figured it out before you did." I groaned, burying my face in her neck. "I'm never going to live this down." "Probably not," she agreed cheerfully, "but I think it'll make a great story someday." The rest of the retreat passed in a blur of stolen moments and secret smiles. We agreed to keep our relationship quiet until we returned to the office, wanting to enjoy this new connection without the complications of workplace gossip. But on the final day during the closing strategy session, everything changed. I was presenting our marketing plan for the coming year, focused on the slides and not on the way Mia was looking at me from her seat at the head of the conference table. I was in my element, confident and articulate, building toward the conclusion of my presentation. And finally, I said, clicking to the last slide, "I believe this approach will not only increase our market share, but also position Pinnacle as the industry leader in. I love you, you idiot." The words exploded into the room, stopping me mid-sentence. I turned, stunned, to find Mia standing, her hands pressed to her mouth, as if she could push the words back in. The conference room fell silent. 20 pairs of eyes darted between Mia and me, shock and amusement playing across their faces. I'm sorry," Mia stammered, her face flushing crimson. "I didn't mean to say that out loud. Please continue." But I couldn't continue. All I could see was Mia, beautiful and mortified, having just declared her love for me in front of our entire team. I set down my presentation remote and crossed the room to her in 4 long strides. The team watched breathless as I took her hands in mine. "I love you too," I said loud enough for everyone to hear. "And yes, I am an idiot. The biggest idiot who ever lived for not seeing what was right in front of me for 2 years. And then I kissed her right there in the conference room to the sound of applause and wolf whistles from our team. When we broke apart, Tom from accounting was already collecting money from the betting pool. Told you it would happen at the retreat, he crowed to the HR director, who handed over a $20 bill with good grace. Mia buried her face in my chest, laughing and embarrassed. I can't believe I did that, she whispered. I was just sitting there watching you be so brilliant and passionate about your work, and it just came out. I tilted her chin up so I could look into her eyes. I'm glad it did. I might have taken another 2 years to say it otherwise. Telling Amara was the part I had worried about most, but I needn't have. When Mia and I sat her down the day after we returned from the retreat, Amara's response was a triumphant fist pump and an exasperated, "Finally! I was starting to think I'd have to lock you two in a closet or something." Mia laughed, relief evident on her face. "So you're okay with this, Amara? With your dad and me dating?" Amara considered the question with adorable seriousness. "Do you make my dad happy?" Mia glanced at me, her eyes soft. "I try to." "He smiles more when you're around," Amara declared, "and you always remember that I hate pickles on my hamburgers, which Dad forgets sometimes." "Hey," I protested. "It's true," Amara shrugged. "Plus, you helped me with my science project when Dad was clueless." "Betrayed by my own daughter," I muttered. But I was smiling. Amara turned back to Mia. "So, yes, I'm okay with it, but I have conditions." Mia raised an eyebrow, amused. "I'm listening." "You have to come to my soccer games, and you can't work late every night, like Dad used to. And," she hesitated, suddenly looking younger than her 9 years, "you have to know that my mom is still my mom, even though she's gone." Mia's eyes filled with tears. She reached out and took Amara's small hand in hers. "I would never try to replace your mom, Amara. She'll always be your mom, and she'll always be an important part of your life and your dad's life. I just hope there might be room for me, too, in my own way." Amara nodded, satisfied. "Okay, then. Can we get ice cream to celebrate?" And just like that, our new life began. There were adjustments, of course. Navigating a relationship with my boss came with complications. Eventually, Mia took a position as Chief Marketing Officer, which put her in a different reporting line and eased some of the workplace awkwardness. There were moments when grief would resurface unexpectedly. A song on the radio that had been Evelyn's favorite. Amara looking suddenly so much like her mother that it took my breath away. Mia handled these moments with grace, never threatened by Evelyn's memory, always understanding that love doesn't end just because someone is gone. A year after that fateful company retreat, I took Amara with me to choose a ring. She insisted on something sparkly, but not too big, because Miss Mia isn't flashy. I proposed on an ordinary Tuesday evening after Amara had gone to bed. Mia and I were washing dishes side by side, talking about our days when I suddenly couldn't wait for the elaborate plan I'd made for the weekend. "Marry me," I said, drying my hands and pulling the ring box from my pocket. Mia dropped the plate she was washing back into the soapy water. "What?" "Marry me," I repeated, opening the box to reveal the ring Amara had helped select. "Be my wife, be Amara's stepmom, be the person I come home to every day for the rest of my life." Tears spilled down Mia's cheeks. "Are you sure? Really sure?" I took her soapy hands in mine. "I've never been more sure of anything. I love you, Mia Donovan. I'm sorry it took me so long to see what was right in front of me, but now that I see it, I never want to look away." "Yes," she whispered. Then louder, "Yes, of course, yes." We were married 6 months later with Amara as our flower girl and maid of honor combined. In my vows, I thanked Mia for her patience, for loving me even when I was too blind to see it, for creating a space where both grief and new love could coexist. In her vows, Mia thanked me for finally catching on, for being worth the wait, for trusting her with my heart and with Amara. And at the reception, Tom from accounting gave a toast that had everyone in stitches, recounting the now legendary conference room declaration and the office betting pool that had reached nearly $1,000 by the time Mia finally cracked. "To the boss who had to spell it out," he concluded, raising his glass. "And to the idiot who finally got the message, may your life together be filled with love, laughter, and very clear communication." 5 years have passed since that day in the conference room. Amara is 14 now, navigating the turbulent waters of adolescence, with Mia and me as her anchors. We've added to our family a 2-year-old son, Nathan, who has his mother's dark hair and his father's tendency to miss what's right in front of him. Life isn't perfect. We argue sometimes. We struggle with the challenges of blending families and balancing careers and raising children. But every night when I climb into bed beside Mia, I'm overwhelmed with gratitude for the second chance at love that I almost missed. Sometimes when Mia thinks I'm not looking, I catch her watching me with the same expression she must have worn all those times I failed to notice her feelings. A look of such tenderness and love that it still takes my breath away. "What?" I'll ask, and she'll just shake her head smiling. "Nothing," she'll say. "I'm just glad you finally figured it out, you idiot." And I am too. So very glad. If you've ever missed signals from someone who cares about you, or if you're waiting for someone to notice how you feel, I hope our story gives you courage. Sometimes love is right in front of us, waiting patiently for us to open our eyes and see it. Don't be an idiot like me. Don't wait for someone to shout their feelings in a conference room. Look around you. Pay attention. That person who brings you coffee, who remembers the little details, who lights up when you enter a room, they might be trying to tell you something important. And if you're the one sending signals that keep getting missed, sometimes you just have to be brave and say it out loud. "I love you, you idiot. It worked for Mia. It might just work for you too." If you enjoyed our story, please like this video and subscribe to the channel for more real-life love stories that will warm your heart and maybe even change your life. Until next time, keep your eyes and your heart open.